very good and great opportunity for interaction. And starting with the first topic as kitchen drainage, obviously communicates to us how severe the problem is all about. The drainage is obviously one of the most ignored subject in the design, and I think we all face a lot of severity, not only in our commercial operations, but of course in our domestic operations as well. When we see the drainage issues, the most ignored, the most abused systems in the project, and yet the most efficiently to be designed and maintained for ensuring that we have the highest level of hygiene available to us in our operations. Primarily, kitchen challenges are well known, and I think we have a great opportunity of such a large experience of probably, if I count across, maybe more than 150 years or so in terms of the panelists who are available here to share with us their views and experiences. And I think we like to keep this more of an interactive session, and I've been told that I generally land up speaking too much, so I'll try to reserve my own statements, and I would encourage my colleagues to share their views and please educate us how we can take the learnings back. But just to set the ball rolling, and since I was warned about not to speak too much, I've still already done the damage of making some few slides. So I'll just get this through so that we are able to put the things in place. So kitchen challenges are well known. Commercial kitchens have busy environment, potential wet and greasy floors, hot liquids, issues of water having fat leading to pipe blockages. And of course, the requirements are not only professional, but I think they are quite moral. We are morally responsible to cater for the people who trust us, and we make sure that our business continuity remains, and the trust of the guest is of immense importance. So I think that's where our faith has to be in ensuring, and today I am aware of, and everybody is aware of that, how social media goes around, and there is one rat in a kitchen, and you know how it goes about, everybody informing that I've seen a rat in so-and-so kitchen, so please don't go to that restaurant, don't go to that healthcare department, don't go to that hotel, there is a problem there. So I'm sure we have a lot of business continuity expectations also, which can be jeopardized in case we are seen to be flaunting with our requirements and provisions. Food safety, health and safety, and operational cost are very important for us to address. And kitchens are of various types, requirements. Types of cuisine governs the design and the planning of the kitchen. The facility caters to the additional checks and balances. So if you have got kitchens which are in restaurants, hotel, healthcare, have their own internal checks to do so. And that's a kind of a second last slides. So what we will have over here is that as a part of the operations team and the design team, we will have certain questions coming up from there, and we will get benefited out of it. But beyond that, I think I've also included some design-based inputs from my side. Being a consulting fraternity, we would like to inform how we take up those things, and then we'll take it up later as we go ahead. HACCP obviously is something which gets governed in most of our operations and working. And then of course the requirements are that we need to look at how much aware are we and prepared. So that's how the whole design aspect goes about. Ignorance bliss. You do a kitchen, walk around, and you are no more there. Neither I'm there, nor the food supplier is there, nor the architect is there, and we leave things there because we done things in ignorance. And this kitchen drainage is all about drainage and grease management. So that's what it is about. Now, where we are, this is how we start the set things moving forward. I personally feel that we belong to a country where we have a lot of moral responsibility. I think getting sued, getting kind of notices from the courts is something which we do not experience and witness in our usual business models. But I think it goes beyond of moral responsibility, and I feel that there are professional liabilities, of course. So my first question, of course, I'd like to put to my great leader and mentor, Mr. Batra, who has a great experience of running hotels as well as hospitals designs, and not only designing them, but my dear friends, the most important is to take the ownership and to operate them. And I think that's where the challenge lies. I can always escape and say, I've done it, I didn't get a call, no call is good call, no problem. Sir, we have an issue over here that primarily, more than the moral responsibility, there are professional liabilities. Now, have you experienced, and we'll probably take up his input on that, what are the kind of professional liabilities which one looks at? Is it really true the safety, the safe food which we serve, the kind of requirements which we cater for, is it really required that we have that kind of a moral responsibility? Beyond the moral responsibility, do we see, because the whole objective over here is, first we should know how deep the water is. We should know what we are stepping into. Kitchen drainage, fine, perfect. But let's be aware, times and days are changing. There would be situations where you will be held responsible for inconsistency and incorrectness. And we need to embrace ourselves and make sure that what we are doing is correct. So, sir, my question to you is that, what are the professional liabilities and what are your experiences of addressing such concerns? You have seen that happening, people coming and giving you notices, there are certain allegations. What exactly it goes about, sir? I will request Mr. Batra first, because from the operation side of it, he witnesses these things day in and out. Sir. I'll elaborate, sir. My question has been, sir, my approach is that while we would imagine that the serving of the food or the requirements to meet these audit checks and balances is very essential, the moral responsibility goes in terms of ensuring that the systems are made operational and working. My question to you is, sir, what are the professional liabilities? Have you experienced any professional issues, any notices, any concerns which have arisen, or this country still doesn't see that kind of things happening?
Frankly, I have not come across any professional or any notices being issued to wherever we have worked in Oberoi or here.
Not to yourself, sir.
No.
In the fraternity.
To the organization. I mean, I have not come across any notice being issued in the kind of environment where we have worked. The kitchens are well maintained, pest control is right up to the mark, environment is there, they are air conditioned, there are no, there's nothing wrong with it. I have not come across any notice being issued to the organization where I worked.
Absolutely.
I don't know where such notices you're talking about.
No, why we see of, no, I'm just saying that, there are always learnings. There are always learnings of
these small outlets which are all over Delhi, they do get,
yes,
they do get hauled up, they do get pulled up. There are notices. I mean, Sagar Ratna in Malviya Nagar was shut down because there were rats found there.
Absolutely.
So they closed it down.
Exactly.
It's a big company. It's not a small multi-outlets all over Delhi.
That's right.
So there were rats there and they shut it down.
Yeah.
So these sort of things in those smaller type of organizations spread over, there are issues of notices being issued. But all said and done, our administration is very lax. You go to 90% kitchens where food is being served and we go and eat in those restaurants. I mean, if you step into those kitchens, you would not eat there again.
I agree with you.
I mean, there is no inspection. You can always get any license. 80% of them don't have food license. They just operate like that. That's where the trouble is.
No, I definitely recognize, sir, you come from a very esteemed working of very large and reputed brands. So the whole idea is that we need, we work a lot in fire and life safety systems as well. So I think a lot of concern comes across today that you flaunt a rule or a regulation and your hygiene standards are not up to the mark. Then of course, you are at a very, very high potential risk of losing not only your name but also getting into kind of a legal formalities. So you said it rightly, you named the restaurants. There are issues which appeared in the newspaper. And that's how it is. So,
but this predominantly is for the small brands, and they're operating from anywhere and everywhere. You go and see their kitchen. There's nothing over there. I mean.
But I've seen instances with not only restaurants, but with hotels as well. So there is a lot of media outcry in terms of.
But I think hotels, by and large, they maintain a certain minimal standard. I mean, I have not seen, even if you go to the kitchen here, it will be pretty good. I can be.
No, but what makes it good in terms of their liabilities, in terms of their monitoring mechanisms, or how does it go about? How do you make sure that you are able to have a measurable good? It's not a...
It starts with a design.
Yes.
The whole basic is the design. The materials used, like you said, the drainage, the air conditioning, the exhaust systems,
the hot water, the Legionella.
Yeah, the hot water, the safety standards. Now, for example, even if you go here, there will be a dishwashing machine, I'm sure. Right?
Sure. But would that dishwashing machine have an indirect waste connection with an air gap?
No, just hold on.
Okay.
Here, when we come to a dishwashing machine, there is a certain minimum temperature required for killing the bacteria. You want 80 degrees temperature in the water. There are outside agencies, their own audit people, they will come and check whether the temperature is 80 degrees or not. So there are markers which change color at that temperature. They stick it onto the plate. When it goes through, if it becomes black, you know it's 80 degrees. So there are some checks and balances which happen in these good hotels. International chains, they all do that. But when you go to these smaller ones where they are washing with hands and grease, and there is nothing over there. So liabilities.
So do you think it is to be worried about or not to be too much worried about?
See, the volume is so large. If you're worried about what can you do? Tell me.
No,
There
the
are
seriousness of
10,000
course.
such outlets in Delhi. What do you want
seriousness, no, not only those outlets, but I think the seriousness sets in.
Sorry?
Because when you know that there are liabilities arising out of it, and there are cases.
No liability on any of these guys. They know how to get away. The street vendor is there. What liability? What are we talking
Mr. Singh, you operate a lot of these restaurants, in terms of.
Yeah.
And you're the kind of people you employ, the kind of challenges you have, the kind of makeshift arrangements there could be in terms of people coming and going away. How do you think has been with you in terms of noticing with peers also as well? Your
We
other.
have also a lot of challenges day in, day out. But we have our systems as we have tied up with Yum. We have a franchisee of Yum International. Those who have a very standards procedure and policies to keep and check and balance on a regular routine basis. They keep on visiting the stores, go through each and every parameters of maintenance, service, quality, food safety, everything they are doing. So we are on our toes on this one to maintain all the quality and hygiene all the time. Yeah, there are opportunities. Always there is like as Mr. Batra is telling on the drainage part, the grease accumulation is there, the blockages are there. That is keep on going. So we keep finding a solution to overcome these kind of problems.
So where do you think is the major problem comes to? Not that all the three of them have their own relevant issues, but what's in your opinion, because you are wearing the hat of all the three, under the various positions, where the problem is, sir?
Sandeep, I tell you, what you say is absolutely right. Okay? This predominantly happens when people are working in isolation and they are working in different offices. You work in your office, architect works there, and designers work there. I never let that happen. We set up a meeting, everybody sits together on the same table, even if it takes 4 days, 5 days, 1 week, we sit and discuss. All the questions you ask are answered. All the warnings he gives are put into the design. The whole trouble these days, and I'm telling you, emails.
Okay.
Make a design, mail it there. Get a comment, mail it there. Get this, mail it there. This mail business is causing a lot of problems. I for one, I said no mail. You come all together on a working table, 2 days, 3 days, we are in the same city. So we sit together and we thrash out each and every part. I have never had a problem, the kind of problem which you have raised, because at the time of design, everybody has had his input, everybody has looked at it, everybody has warned each other, and they go back and they come. But now if it's designed in isolation, he sends a mail, I may pick up something, I may not, I may miss out something. Then it goes to equipment, then it goes to MEP. The MEP guy, what you said, is doesn't know what is the solid going to go into it, what, ऐसे होता है. So if we sit together and have a working session, in 2 to 3 days you achieve what it takes 1 month by sending designs from architect to consultant to this consultant, that consultant to the owner, we avoid all that. And I am doing now 3 more brand new greenfield hospitals. Exactly the same thing what I am doing. Everyone come over, let's sit down, let's work on the kitchen, let's work on the laundry, let's work on whatever you want to work on. So we avoid a lot of problems by physical interaction, running sometimes 2 days, 3 days. That's the way I avoid it. But you're right, these problems happen because of communication, and nobody has time, they look at the drawing, kuch dekha, kuch nahi dekha, that sort of thing. So these problems do come.
Everybody doesn't have that carrot and stick approach which you carry, sir. in the sense you
I'm
are able to
fortunate
get through with the
consultants
design.
we use are in the same city. If the consultant was in some other city, there was no recourse to it. Then you ask him to fly down one day, sit together. ठीक है. But we are fortunate we use consultant in the same city. I'm able to solve this problem. But these problems are there. I mean, you can't wish them away. The grease problems are very serious. Choking is very serious. But then, if you design your drain the way you use your drain, nothing goes inside. I'll tell you, you put a removable drain, then what happens to the drain cover? This fellow who's got the rice boiler, he's emptying it down, he lifts it up, lets it all go through. So what we learned the hard way, we weld it, we don't allow it. He supplies me the drains and the gratings which are removable and openable. I put it there and I tack weld it. I said, you can't open it. So you have to do these things. His drains are all designed that you can lift those gratings, put it across, clean it, do everything. हम उसके अंदर एक और लगाते हैं, ऊपर लगा के वेल्ड कर देते हैं, आप खोल ही नहीं सकते. He cannot lift it. So when it chokes, he has to move the dirt and then start. We have developed a very nice grease trapping mechanism.
Okay.
All the grease goes into outside the building because the grease traps inside the building, the ones which we get now, they're very expensive and they're very small. And putting it under the counter, there are so many places from where the grease comes. And 3-4 lakh ka ek aata hai, this. So what we have done is we have piped everything, we've taken it to a pit. We've got a mechanism which pulls out the grease and keeps it, putting it into a drum continuously. So you should come and see it. It's a pretty good.
I can understand. You cyclic operations.
Well, no. There is a motor.
Yeah.
There is like a cycle chain.
Yes,
sprocket,
that's right. So it's
big
a
one.
Yeah.
Chain goes down, comes up, it dips into the grease, comes up, and then there's a little rubber piece there.
Inverts the
It
bucket.
comes from there, the grease goes there and keeps going. 24/7 that keeps running and your drums keep filling. No need to get inside and clean the grease.
Sure.
So there are
Innovations. There are
things which.
There are innovations to do it, but it's been nice, sir, that you have been able to do all these kind of things very efficiently. But Mr. Singh, don't you think most of the times you inherit this? Because in my understanding, you run these restaurants, and most of the times you get the key of it and you say, here you are, run the systems. So what is your experience? Do you really, in your working, do you think that you inherit something which has been designed and planned well? Or it's the other way around? You say, we are ready to do maintenance, but what we've been given is not very efficiently done.
Yeah.
My understanding is that how good is our, my other question which relates is that how good are we in providing information at the planning stage? You see, the whole idea is when you inherit. Yes, sir.
That is very important that initially during the design stage, we should give the information to our design consultants. But in our case, we have a standard equipments and the effluent, whatever is coming out from the different kind of restaurants is similar. So our architects are also one architect to whom we are dealing from so many years. But as you told, there are the problems on a different stages. In the design stage, there could be a problems, but I can think of that sometimes there is a problem on the operation side also when they are putting, as Mr. Avatar is telling, opening the gratings and throwing directly to the solids on this one. And sometimes, what I feel as my experience, because sometimes we are just blaming whenever the water falling from our floor to the down tenant floor, whosoever. I am finding that we are just straight blaming to the drain. But later when we are finding out why the leakage is coming, so sometimes we are finding that the water is leaking from the pipelines inside the tiles. Why? Because sometimes we have stores in the malls where we have a very high pressure water supplies are coming. So during this operation time, we don't know inside the tile there is a small breakage is there because of the high pressure. But we are straight away immediately blaming the drain. So I am thinking that it's a mix and match to find out where is the exact problem. We know sometimes there is a slope problem is there. We are putting to stop the solids, we are putting the strainers in the different places to stop the solids to go to the drain. And in fact, we are keep on working on it to just overcome the problem. We are working on a waterproofing. Earlier the waterproofing was a big major problem. We were not taking care of waterproofing. So now we have given to the specialist waterproofing companies to give us a proper waterproofing in the initial stage. So we overcome these problems, which is earlier it's around 90% outlets were just bleeding, but now it is coming to reduce to that one. And as a maintenance to take care of the problems, we keep inventing. We are just keep on talking to the companies. So in my previous experience, around I think 35 years back, I worked for the hotel in Sheraton, one of the in Middle East. There was no utilities there from the government supply. So we were having ETP plants, in-house ETP plants, sewage treatment plants. So there was one gentleman was coming with the solution of bacteria. They are putting the bacteria in that sewage plant, and we treating that water and putting it, using in all our gardens and everything. So that was same. I just thought let me find out the companies if we have in India. So I got a company and we tested in 5-6 stores in our same their system, and it's perfectly all right. The blockages has been gone, the drainage has been very well cleaned, the grease has been cleaned very well, and in fact that smell is also been reduced.
So you have additive enzymes to it. Additive enzymes.
Enzymes and microorganisms they are putting. So I tried already that one to overcome this problem of grease and smell and other thing.
Rishi sir, what we heard from Mr. Singh, these very innovative ways by which they have been able to, overcome the issues. As a matter of standard, when you do your planning, do you think that we have enough standards available today internationally, or let's educate each other nationally, which helps you to understand how do you do a more efficient design just instead of a 50 dia drain connection? My question to you is coming from there is that, what information is being provided at the planning stage? I have yet to come across a lot of information is not made available. And I think from my working with Khanna Saab, I do understand that you do give a lot of elaborated details towards the design criteria. But do you think that there is a lot of international references which are available to you, which enable you to dictate your own requirements with respect to certain design criteria?
So as your question says, yes, design parameters are all there. There's no problem there.
With the Fortune Hotels, we were only getting the brownfield projects from the owning boards. And when we say we were getting brownfield projects, means the structure, at times the structure is ready, layout planning already has been planned unprofessionally. In those cases, there will be compromises. Even if you try your best, there will be some compromises. Like I can give an example of a project which is at one of the capital in UP. The owner had taken only the architect and the complete structure was built. And when we asked the architect what feedback he was given when he was constructing the hotel, he said the owner said only two things. That he needs the largest side of banquet hall on ground floor and the kitchen on the rooftop. Now if these kind of building structures you get it, 100% there will be compromises, have to be there. This is one of the examples which I have given, but we got most, out of 32 projects which I did during my tenure in Fortune Hotels, 31 were brownfield projects only. Thank you.
We heard, I think Barry's presence is here. We can, yes sir. You're a consultant, you're into consulting and of course carry a very rich experience from your working in other parts of the world. What is a brief you get? You get adequate brief, information, agreement, people agreeing to your design proposals?
The answer is yes.
That's nice.
It varies from job to job, and I think the biggest problem is getting the right people involved at the right time. And as an MEP consultant, one of the biggest problems we have is on most projects, the food services consultant, laundry consultant isn't engaged until after the planning's been carried out.
You're right.
We've assessed our electrical and mechanical loads, and the architect has done some preliminary layouts. One very good example is we're doing 4 hotels in Saudi Arabia for a client who'd actually constructed them before he engaged any consultants. And the kitchen is it's a 5-star hotel, one of the major brands. Kitchen is going in the basement at the lowest level. There are no drainage provisions for the kitchen. There's no space for getting ventilation ducts in and out, and it's a major challenge. I think one of the issues in India, more so than, although this project's in Saudi, we find in India the clients are more reluctant to engage and pay the fees to get the advice early because they think it's not needed until the end of the design period. But for us, it's one of the most essential areas because it's one of the highest areas of energy consumption, water consumption, and ventilation. It's a high fire risk. It's a high area for discomfort to occur, and it's very difficult to achieve a safe, comfortable environment if it's not planned properly from the first place. And the other simple areas is things like grease traps. Kitchens are often planned in the centre of buildings with no easy access to get a drain with a sufficient fall to a grease trap outside of the building. Because if the grease trap goes inside the building, in this location, we're reasonably okay because it's a warm climate, but where you go into areas where it's not so warm, as you know, the grease freezes, you have to have heat trace lines that get damaged, and there's always a problem locating the grease trap in an area where it can be cleaned easily. And the most horrendous thing I've ever had to do in my life is to lift the cover off a grease trap and investigate what was blocking it, because the smell, if anybody's ever actually had to investigate one, it is horrendous. So as a simple design principle, they should be moved outside the hotel. So my sort of advice is to lobby to get the likes of the food services design consultants on board very early in the design process, integrated into the design, so that the designs incorporate everything that's required, and also take into account the energy, because something I'll present later on, typically the fresh air to a kitchen in a climate such as Delhi is 20 to 30% of the chiller capacity. So there's a substantial cooling load for ventilating kitchens. So if you can look at all the aspects that go into energy consumption, water consumption, ventilation, planning efficiency of a kitchen, it is one of the most important areas to plan correctly. Even though the guests don't see it, and most owners' emphasis is on areas where guests face and see things, but the guests will know if there's a problem in the kitchen, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please. Can I hear you?
First of all, thanks for conducting. Should in the whole discussion that things are evolving, like from unconscious failures to conscious failures. So we were not knowing what is happening, why it is happening, but at least now we are aware that why it is happening and what are the core reasons. It could be design, it could be execution, and it could be operations. So my question to panelists are, as I understood that hotels, when they are under construction, there is a core team behind it, in the design, in the construction, in the execution and all that. But when it comes to standalone, what I understood that, those are ready-made shells by the builders and not planned enough for the restaurant operation. They might be planned for a shop, etc. And when it comes to a restaurant operator or owner to build a restaurant over there, they face all these basic issues like how to lay down the drains, and what is the quantum of drain there or quantum of waste they are going to generate out of that 700 or 900 square feet kitchen. Whereas hotels have massive kitchens, trained staff, they know how to what to put in the waste or what not to, or there are some measures taken by hotels teams to prevent drain clogging. But in standalone restaurants or small operations where kids are working, they are part-timers, they are not trained enough. They have given certain SOPs and they just follow those SOPs, and hence there are so many issues related to the facilities, and especially these kind of drain issues, smell issues, etc. So my question here is that is there any, is there a different standards available for certain kitchens or a templates which can be implemented on certain, standalone restaurants where they are generating a lot of waste out of a small kitchen or a small stove, and their waste is not mainly, food. It could be packaging, it could be bones, it could be anything, foreign particles which are going into the drains. And I believe this is a very generic problem faced by standalone restaurants. It could be chains or any kind of restaurant. So, looking for your inputs on this.
See, according to me, as I am from the same in Devyani from last, I think, 13, 14 years. So we were having from day one, there is a big problems keep on going on the drains, and we keep on discussing with the consultant, our architect, design consultant. So recently, from last 1 year, we have worked on this one again on the drain, especially on the KFC where we have a lot of oils and food and solids are going in the drain. So we work upon this one with the operation team, that how we can minimize the drain points and to close this open drains, because earlier we thought that it's the best way to have an open drains, so at least it can be easily clean, or if it's blocked, it easily can be taken out the solid and everything. But it's we fail because people are not
used to
bothering. Yeah, might be because they have their own challenges, because of the less staff there during night time. They don't have time to properly do the cleaning, so they put the solid in. So what we have done from last 1 year, we had opened around, I think, 12 outlets of KFC, and hardly there is any leakage problem we face. Earlier we used to have around, I think, out of 100 outlets, we are having 70 outlets there in the drain, the leakages. So what we have done, we have just point out and worked with the operations that what drains exactly is required, the minimum one. And we have given an open drains of only smaller one of 1 feet or 1.5 feet, just to floor cleaning only, and then rest is all concealed with the pipes. So we have overcome on this leakage problem, especially from this done by changing of this design ourselves. And second, what we have done is the dishwash area, where we have the solids are coming basically. We have extracted the drain line separately to the main hole separate, and the other kitchen drains are coming on the separate pipes. So that also help us, that because so many times there is a blockages because of these solids coming from the dishwash. We used to keep on modifying, implementing new things like putting strainers on the sinks, the main sinks of the dishwasher. So at least the solid can be retained there and can be put it in the drain, garbage bags and other. So I'm just thinking that if we can work on this one to unnecessary getting the drains, the points, whatever the additional points are there, there is the chances of leakage are going to be there. The maximum joints are there. So earlier we had an open drains, which we thought that is going to help us, but it's make a mess in our store, and leakages are more.
You see, what we are hearing out are basically certain fundamental requirements which are not met. And while I appreciate and recognize that hotels are more organized, they are much more well maintained, I took an opportunity to actually go around with about 2 minutes of inputs which probably does not exist, in our design and planning. And that's what I feel, if we are not aware of what kind of an equipment needs what kind of a drainage connection, and that's where the trouble starts. Yes, sir. Kindly, sir. Sure.
With this question of the air gap and
yes,
information
please,
that you're concerned about. It's like this, that this air gap is known right from the beginning, which equipment requires it and which doesn't.
Yes, of course.
And to cut the long short, any equipment where the food is in direct contact with the water.
That's right, sir.
With bain-maries or ice
dishwashers
or cold pans.
Yes.
Ice machines and such things.
Yes.
They definitely should have indirect waste.
That's right, sir.
And I think you'll find this information as ID extended to the drain.
Correct.
So go back to your table, you'll see that dishwasher doesn't require, glass washer doesn't require, garbage grinder doesn't require. Compartment sinks do not require because they should have direct drain. There's no food there in dishwasher. Compartment sinks, potato peeler, no. Prep sink, like that. So anything which has a direct
Yeah, it's like,
backflow.
there you are, in
Yeah,
kind of,
anything which has a direct backflow
yes,
to go up to the pipe.
and contaminate the food.
Yeah.
Should have that kind of a,
Exactly.
yes.
And the air gap is the one which
There is a
this
gap,
is better because this one still has some
viability,
chances of overflow
yes.
and having a reverse flow. Coffee machines, countertop coffee machines required. So, secondly, this question of what we discussed about the drainage problem in the restaurants, especially in the malls and primarily you're right, the architects don't have the know-how, or not the know-how, but the information as to where the restaurants are going. The owner is not able to give the specific locations. But still I think that can be overcome, as you rightly said, by open drainage. We have over the years got this into our heads that open drainage is non-hygienic. Well, it used to be, and it was, because the way the drains were in those days. But now if you go to stainless steel drains, which are pre-made and sold by international companies,
Sure.
they're sloped properly, and right at the end you take out a drain. Our drains actually, wherever we are getting flow drains or we are getting traps, are too deep. And those depths, in fact, increase our filling spaces that we need. Nobody can provide that kind of heights.
400 mm, 500
Exactly.
mm, of course.
So if you look at it next time, a 6-inch section even, and you start off with a 2-inch at one end and drop it down to 4-inch just as a slope, and then put right at the end towards the wall, the trap and discharge, you'll solve a lot of your problems.
I agree with you, sir. The only thing is that, yes, fortunately I've seen the transition myself from open drain to the closed drain. So the open drain has become a very big, kind of a no-go, whereas the closed drain becomes the design program. But then the closed drain in planning and design is more challenging. If you do it wrong, then with an open drain you still have some escape. But if an closed drain...
I was basically referring to the restaurants. In
Sure.
a small way, you have 300, 600 square feet, and they're normally against the walls.
Sure.
Hotels, definitely.
Yes, of course.
And when we're talking about open drains now, we're talking about stainless steel with removable gratings and without the joints.
I agree with you, sir.
They're easily cleaned.
No, I fully agree with you, sir. But my point also was in terms of hotels. All of us, since we belong to that fraternity, this looks very usual, and I think that's where our main guidelines are not seen to incorporate this, nor are the people inclined to go through and understand what they should be doing. Not engaging the right professionals to do things, not having the right resources, also leads to multiple problems in terms of drainage designs in per se, and then of course the ignorance of maintenance issues leads to those kind of issues where you need to close your restaurant for a week's time. So I think these are cumulative issues, and as part of fraternity we need to take that message forward that these things are no rocket science. It's just a matter of fact knowing them and implementing them and believing them. And our problem is that we always are very in superlative terms and think that we know everything without actually opening the book, because that really puts us across. And then I think that's the learnings across, that we have all kind of gyan available to us, and the only thing what is required is to implement that and believe and implement on that. So that's where I think the problem comes across when people would not have probably even seen these drawings and they leave it to their second grade and third grade designers, not in terms of the grading of it, but in terms of the placement which they do. So their draftsman doesn't understand this, and the director is too busy in attending meetings everywhere else and not being able to brief his people what exactly are the basic fundamental requirements. And that's where I think the problem doubles up. That's where we have those kind of issues. So primarily how you provide the kind of requirements which are there for the various kind of kettles, the prans, what we heard from Mr. Batra. So I was just taking an opportunity over here to just express that as part of the design team, this is what I can do probably. And then beyond that is something which I'm not very good at. I cannot lay the SOPs of maintenance, and that's where we need colleagues from here to guide us, to put on those guidelines in a similar format. I have personally not seen a very well documented maintenance guidelines. I have not seen, and I may be excused for it, but I see a lot of design and planning guidelines available to all of us. But I think the need of the hour is that also we need to see, as our colleague expressed, the maintenance part of it. And that's where I think we need to move forward and as a fraternity also contribute in developing those guidelines, which I feel are quite missed out in terms of documenting it. You may have an individual's learning, and that takes the precedence of explaining it to his successors and saying, I run this restaurant for 20 years, I learned all this, you do this, you will run it for next 50 years. And I think, sir, is Mr. Khanna, those kind of guidelines of maintenance available? Let me learn also across. SOPs of guidelines available in public domain?
We have Suraj here from IIG. I think he should be able to explain.
My question would be also in public domain, not just, of course, your guidelines would be very well known to everybody. So in terms of public domain, like these guidelines are available in public domain.
Yeah, about the hotel operating procedures, there are standard operating procedures for maintenance.
Sure.
Engineering part, yes, we do have that. But when we go to the kitchens part, yes, there's certainly a room that we can improve on. About the maintenance of the grease traps pipe, that usually lies with the engineering team, and that has been well taken care of. Like when we do the design, including the design reviews at the onset of the project, we do plan the grease trap should be outside the building. So things like that, and while maintaining the drains on inside the kitchens part, the maintenance, we always go for the removable covers.
My question to you is, let's say you're not a part of a hotel operating team, okay?
Yeah.
Just as a question.
Yeah.
Now, these guidelines are available in Uniform Plumbing Code, International Plumbing Code, ASPE guidelines. All of these books have got all these nice pictures. They explain us. So section 252 will tell us. If you would not have been belonging to a hotel operator, group, is that information available in public domain by international publications like ICC or other codes? Is my understanding, which I would like to see if we can bridge that gap.
Not really, yes, that certainly we can add up to. But on the hotel level, yes, these are available.
Well, you've been fortunate to be a part of a very eminent group.
It's an Intercontinental Hotels
Yes,
group.
of course.
So as part of the hotel's operating procedures, in the information which is given to the hotel teams, the chefs and all the teams, that is there, but not in.
So what I hear from my friends here, and including what Batra Sahab said, that restaurants have got those problems. So I think those.
We have Rajat.
I've been actually involved in a family business, and I've set up some restaurants in the past few years. We've set up a chain called Angrezi Dhaba Restaurants. I have a lot of views on whatever's been talked about.
Sure.
A very important thing I think I'd like to mention, the conundrum which a small restaurant faces,
Yes.
irrespective of the fact that it may be part of a larger group. An individual restaurant is a small restaurant. So, Sarabjit ji would agree with me, a small restaurant, irrespective of whether it's part of a 1,000 crore company, is a small restaurant. The team present there is a small team. The maintenance team is a small team. So, the whole idea, what most consultants, and I discussed this with Mr. Khanna and a lot of people, the planning is done for larger hotels.
Okay.
The ideas are for larger hotels.
Sure.
The standards are for larger hotels or for larger hospitals. A smaller restaurant has, and the owner, operator of a restaurant has basic concerns, capital cost.
Sure.
Right from hiring a consultant to executing what a grand drawing may really entail.
Buying the equipments, buying the
equipment.
drains, the stainless steel drains.
Real estate cost. So
Yes,
you've
of
got
course.
1,500 square feet. Now, we started off, the first restaurant we did had a 600 square feet kitchen.
Sure.
Because it was a standard. An Indian kitchen had to have this, had to have that. We sat down with Mr. Khanna. In Faridabad, they made a fabulous kitchen in 280 square feet. It had a dishwasher, it had everything, it had two tandoors, it had a complete, so those things are not in any public domain. It
Sure.
has to be done by as a specific end-to-end thing.
Sure.
Now, as far as what standards we are talking about, there are no standards at all available for smaller outlets because hotels keep their proprietary things. I got a manual for on operation, operating procedures and all that, and it was like a secret. Please don't share it with anybody.
Sure.
I think it should be a social responsibility of larger hotels.
That's right.
And consultants to put it in public domain. It should be kind of a advertised fact that these are the things which should be done and shouldn't be done. Because it's impossible for smaller restaurants to do 80% of the things which are being asked for. In a mall, we were asked, in Mega Mall in Gurgaon, we were asked to put under sink grinders in a dishwash thing. We procured those. In turn, that choked, we installed those and it choked the drains of the food court. And, it was just, DLF forced us to put, these had to be put. And we don't know what happened. We installed those and it choked all our drains. So these are, basic problems which we face all the time. And there's no information really coming forth. And the concerns of open drains, closed drains. I don't think there's a consensus anybody has what is better. Out of, I would say, 10 restaurants, we've had the worst problems with open drains. But still, I'm told by a lot of consultants that open drains are better. We are putting up a base kitchen and I'm in a fix whether we should put open drains, closed drains, what all we should do. So these are, I think very specific restaurant and capital and space related concerns for which there should be certain norms, there should be certain standards, and an individual consultant very often is not capable of doing it unless there's a much larger a theory behind it as to how smaller restaurants should be functioning.
One thing which is very essential is to involve a consultant. I'm sorry, your restaurant may be a small restaurant, but if you do involve a consultant, it will go a long way. There's no question about it. Nobody knows everything. And the way to involve a consultant is with me and Mr. Khanna and so many other equipment suppliers, we worked out a beautiful formula. We said, you design the kitchen. If we buy the equipment from you, we don't pay you consulting fees. Simple as all that. And everybody accepts it. So if you say, I'm going to buy a kitchen from him, all the equipment, he will design it for you and he'll do a beautiful design. So what we try to do is we put things ourselves. They are very, very good in this form and fashion. This is not the first time, and there are a lot of other consultants who are also manufacturing, who've got tie-up with manufacturers. I know 2-3 other people who've got kitchen manufacturing capabilities, facilities, or they've tied up with somebody. Somebody's brother is manufacturing something, but he's consulting. So we said, all right, fine. You're going to buy the whole kitchen equipment from me, I'll design it for you. So if you design the kitchen well, a lot of problems get taken care of. Rather than trying and doing it yourself, you have to involve people. I know you try and save that little money, I understand 50 lakhs, then the fees, and I understand all that. But it's well worth that extra money, even if you have to pay for it, fine. Don't try and do it yourself.
All my kitchens are designed by Mr. Khanna, he knows it, because smaller restaurants will have concerns which are really minute, which till now I feel have been kind of overlooked.
No, there is nothing in the public domain, you're right.
Message is very good that while we understand the intricacies, the whole requirement, as Mr. Batra also said, and we agree that there is nothing in public domain, and unless until it is public domain, either you take up somebody's copyrighted material and try to do it, which is not very satisfying, and he would have done it on their own, for their own requirements. I think we'll take the message forward that the public domain, there should be certain objective and certain design criteria which should be well spelled out. I don't think so it's very rocket science. All you need is a 20-page booklet will give you enough information, because
a couple of pages, a good closing procedure every night
absolutely
would take you long.
Absolutely.
I'll give you an example. I'll go back again to Nirula's. I won't take it from another company where Sarabjit and me were colleagues, which was Domino's. Was The ice cream parlors, everybody would have seen the ice cream parlors at Nerula's, especially those who are based in Delhi. And for the drainage itself, we used to have a coffee which was brewing all the time. And it was a strict, part of the SOP that the first thing once you close the parlors, you finished all, served all your coffee and everything. Any coffee left should be actually drained into the drains.
Sure.
When it is warm. Because it worked as a great cleaner rather than, just leaving it, it gets cold and then you put it in the drain, it doesn't make a difference. So every, especially small organization, have to find their own solutions and keep their eyes open. A lot of the problem, a lot of solutions are there, right there, and the best way so many times is to go to your staff. They have the best solutions.
But I think the whole objective is that not only for drainage, but I think the overall safety, the upkeep, the fire safety, how do you handle the gas, how do you have the hood protection system, cleaning mechanism, and as I said, it's all information available.
I think somebody, I do not know who, whether it's the architect, whether it's the facility planner, whether it is the project manager, has to take ownership of the kitchens. Because if the facility planner will give the design will be integrated by the MEP consultant, then put together, coordinated drawings made, gone to the project managers. But I think it is very important for owners to understand the consultant's role and also the owners to make sure that the consultants are involved during the implementation process. Now, why cannot a kitchen consultant be on site when the kitchen is being made and when pipes are laid to identify whether they've been laid as per his plan and just leave it to the project managers? So I think these are some questions that we need to ask ourselves as well if we want the implementation to be right. And I am a very firm believer if planning and implementation is right, all these challenges of blocked drains and everything with the SOPs that we talked about can be resolved. But I think that in the implementation process, the consultants need to be on board. They cannot just design and just let the project managers execute projects.
I completely agree. I think a lot of also gets driven by your own personal commitment, and a lot of us do visit sites and take that ownership. But I think as a whole, either we take it morally or we take it as a responsible requirement. A check and balance should be definitely maintained.
Because even owners sometimes don't involve consultants. They will keep on doing, okay, I need the flooring by tomorrow morning, just close it. He's not coming.
I need GFC drawings in 3 days.
I'm just being very practical
about
the approach.
I agree with you.
We might do the best of the designs, hire the best of the consultants, but till we understand that planning is the crux of success. I think that's something that if we plan for 6 months and don't build and plan simultaneously, that's what we do.
Sure. Thank you.
Just one quick point here. I think the main problem is not that there's any lack of knowledge.
Yes.
There's plenty available. We have excellent consultants. We have excellent manufacturers. We have a lot of guidance available. I think the basic issue is unscrupulous players in this business who do not want to adhere to any norms.
Agreed.
They just want things as of yesterday.
Yes.
Because of the capex loads, they want to keep the expenses to the minimum. So that's where the basic problem is there.
I fully agree.
It's not lack of knowledge or lack of
awareness.
awareness.
Here in these discussions,
yeah.
There's nothing which we really discovered.
People just don't want to spend. People want everything as of yesterday. They want to open, they want to cut the ribbons in 15 days' time.
The best thing is that they want the drawings and they will not open it for next 1 month, but they want it from you tomorrow morning.
What the gentleman here was talking about, Mr. Dayal, I think somehow I feel, people, they're very experienced people, much senior people sitting here who've worked with international chains and all. I think what the gentleman here is talking about, we need to basically the parameters of a hotel kitchen and a restaurant kitchen. I think practically we have to accept it, they're very different.
They're very different,
And what the gentleman here also said, that probably there's a need to create a separate template for the restaurant kitchens, for the smaller operations. That's what I understand from what you said. So maybe in these 2 days, we can evolve something where we can actually realize that we need to create a separate template for smaller kitchen operations, because the per square feet waste generation in smaller kitchens is way higher. It's the end point. We've been talking about open drains and closed drains and all. You make open drains inside your restaurant, but if your endpoint drains, you are at the mercy of the municipal corporation and they're not equipped to handle. What do you do? And but the worst thing which is happening now, which is very scary, is I believe they've come out with a new norm. A few years back, they started these ETP compulsions for regardless of the cover size. And now I believe there's another ruling coming in that for below 50 covers, you do not need any ETP sanctions. So which is going to make things even more scary.
So Vikshit sir.
Who's going to be counting the covers every night?
I think that's gone well. The message, at least we carry one learning from one lecture or one discussion, will be immense for us to make sure that we have enough fuel for next time till we meet again. I think this adds up as a starting point where we have a concern expressed that regulation should be made available, they should be more practical, more in public domain, so that the willingness of the people who want to do it have the appropriate knowledge being given to them. And I think we'll take this message forward, and I'm sure Mr. Khanna and our team will keep you informed about the doings. So thank you so much, sir, for this interaction, and thank you for your inputs, please.